miserable, pox-ridden bastard.
Such a cheerful individual. All right, I've started recording anyway. You fuck. Just proof you're a miserable cunt
Oh,
behind the scenes. I have it now.
this would
I have it.
is that genuinely this is gonna we start the fucking podcast and just effing and blinding each
Just
other?
don't count it in. Just swear blindly at each other. You know,
Cool.
I'm sure that's entertainment for some. So
Hey guys, welcome. He was doing that as jest, but I'm going to roll with it. This is how we're going to start the podcast. Fuck it.
well, right.
Welcome to
Well,
two
yeah.
old miserable knobs.
I'm blaming you. It's all your fault. It's always your fault. I'm blaming you.
Hey guys, and welcome to Two Bald Knobs with me, 6+ Stevo, and this pox-ridden, Nurgle-blessed Skarner.
How dare you, sir? Them's fighting words.
You're not feeling too dapper, are you, mate?
No, I was a bit under the weather the last few days. Bit of a stomach bug. That's why I'm on the old Red Bull at this point in time. Red Bull and coffee to keep me going. Cause someone managed to lose the last episode we tried to make. Not pointing any fingers or nothing.
Oh
And
my god!
but this is our second attempt at this episode. You know, so
yes,
we pulled out
this
all the
is
stops.
Oh, guys, let me yeah, let me elaborate on that. So myself and Skarner, we did this episode in full about a week ago now, was it, buddy? It was pretty much a week today, wasn't it?
I think so, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, we did it in the format of Skarner was on my television, so we had us live, you know, not live, but, you know, actual footage of us rather than what you're listening to now, an audio recording. So yeah, we did it because the format worked quite well last time, and yeah, we did a good hour, 20-minute podcast talking about all the apocalypse news and all the usual stuff, and it was a good show in the can, all done. My phone, which I recorded on, is on its last legs of just, you know, rammed full of data and just not quite capable of keeping up nowadays, and seemed to be recording fine. Everything was going well. When we finished, I stopped recording and my phone froze up and the data was instantly corrupted. So yeah, we lost the lot. It didn't save to the cloud. It just went. It was just gone.
It died a lonely death.
It was absolutely heartbreaking, and yes, it was devastating, and I'm still not over it. It's been killing me. So I put a little post up on the Two Bald Knobs Facebook group. If you're not already on that, get signed up on there now, guys. Good stuff on there. Share your Orky content. A little plug there to get in. But yeah, I shared that with the group. Let people know that, sorry guys, you know, we tried to film it, we did it, and it all screwed up. But the light at the end of the tunnel, though, is that I do now have a computer. But it's going to be a little bit of time before I get all set up with that.
Well done. Welcome to the present, or 1999 to everyone else.
So yes, I've finally got the computer. Was able to get the funds through the money that I've raised through YouTube from the channel and everything. So it's been sort of completely self-funded. Yeah, so I've got a computer at last. It's going to take me a little bit of a while to learn the editing software and things on there because it's all learning it all over again. But get myself set up with a webcam. So the future's bright for the channel. The future's bright for the Bald Knobs podcast. We will continue to improve and get better. And hopefully instances like that will be a thing of the past.
No more crotch cam either. You'd be pleased to know there'd be no more crotch cam.
No more crotch cam. It'll be chest up. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a busy couple of weeks for both of us, hasn't it, mate? It's I've been insanely busy with work and everything. You've been busy with your work. You are now have the blessings of Father Nurgle, disease-ridden.
I've gotten over it now, but yeah, had a bit of a dose there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough couple of weeks, but yeah, we're at the other end. We're doing the podcast now. We've got it going. So yes, looking forward now, and we've got some good stuff to talk about on this one, haven't we, buddy?
Yeah, there's a few bits and pieces to talk about. Obviously, by the thumbnail, we'll be mostly talking about Apocalypse, but now we've been up to a few bits between uh, our last attempt as well. So you know what I mean. There's a few bits and pieces. Like for instance, I wrapped up my building competition that I ran on the channel last month. I had a big mech small vehicle building competition. That was won by Gar. There was 3 places. There was Gar, there was Dreadwa, and there was Mork and Gork. And for second and third. It was really good. There was a lot of entries. There's a shitload more entries than I expected. The build qualities were awesome. There's a lot of inspiration, and even if people didn't win a prize, at least you had a vehicle at the end of it. It was really fun. I'm looking forward to running the next one. Probably something a bit bigger. Build people up a bit, maybe a bigger vehicle. But I won't be saying the exact details yet, as the orc community don't quite understand the idea of the building competition starts now. As soon as you mention the word building competition, there's projects frantically thrown together. Oh yes, I can build this and this, and you'll watch like a grot tank slowly morph into like a custom battle fortress that'll slowly morph into a stomper. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's I think you're wise there. Just when you do your first video of it, just say and the competition starts now.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, yeah, you don't have an option. You literally just have to say the competition has started. It starts now. Go on, off you go, lads.
We're an impatient bunch, the orc community. That's for damn sure. You can't expect orcs to be patient. We're notoriously impatient. Always keen to crack on. But buddy, the competition was awesome. Yeah, you ran a great
crazy,
competition there. It was really cool.
I could have run it better. I can say that much. Like it was my first competition I've run. So I've learned a lot of lessons, and I know how to organize it a bit better. But it was really good. Good entries.
Oh, that's good, man. I think everyone involved, anyone that took part, anyone that just and just the people watching. I think everyone involved, to whether they were just watching or taking part or won, got a lot out of that. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed doing my sort of custom Death Dread build along with it, although I didn't quite finish it. I did declare myself out of the competition. Just in the interest of not wanting to look like any foul play, but once I saw the other entries, God, I stood no chance at finishing in the top 3 anyway. The standard of entries, like you said, was incredible, and I am so inspired by what I saw. The grot tanks and death dreads and trucks and mech guns, and it was just some crazy, awesome. You guys out there, just the best community going. You've got fantastic imagination, fantastic talent on display. The 3 guys that won it, very deserving winners, really good. There was other standout ones I really liked. Big Mech Dan Skull's Death Dread, that was climbing over the barrels and knocking them over. Very inventive, very, very creative, and there wasn't a bad entry in it. There wasn't anything that I looked at and thought, I don't rate that much. Everything was really good, either in the fact of the talent and the skill that was applied, or just the creativity and the imagination that went into it. And yeah, I've certainly been inspired and got a lot of cool ideas from watching those. And I look forward to your next one, buddy. I think I think you're in now for the long haul. I think you're going to be expected to run these maybe annually or every
maybe
make this
maybe 2 a year or something, or we'll see what the story is. We'll give people a bit of a gap so they can replenish their bits box, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there, but I'll give people a heads up, like, oh, sort of expect the next competition in this sort of period of time, maybe September or October-ish, maybe before then. Keep you on your toes. But yeah, it was good
And
fun, and it'll be great again.
I think, like you said, you're probably planning the next one to probably be a larger vehicle, because I
Yeah,
know some of the entrants didn't quite get the small memo.
yeah, I reckon, yeah, that's partly. I'd say that's partly the way I sort of worded it as well. Initially. So yeah, like I said, I learned a lot of things. I think I'll make it a lot clearer and make it very step by step and easy to follow guideline for the next building
Yeah.
competition. You
Or,
know?
hell, maybe just say, look, just build what you want. Just build anything.
Yeah, so
Small,
something like
big,
that.
whatever.
Whatever, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, people, big mech build, big, was it big mech small vehicle? I think people definitely latched onto that word big, and there
Yeah.
was someone trying to enter a stomper, not epic scale, 40k scale.
Fair play to them. Fair play to them. I thought they were winding me up because you were taking the piss, and you're like, "Oh, I'll enter a stop it," and then someone was genuinely, sincerely asking me, "I'm like, are you taking a piss, mate?" He's like, "No, no, no, can I?"
Yeah,
I thought,
Stomper's just a sore point for you all over a bit. Anyone mentions
well,
Stomper now,
well,
your instant reaction is did Stevo put you up to this?
well, you were winding me up at the time, but I don't know. We'll have to look. There's the APOC data sheets that have come out today, and Apocalypse being a whole new rule set. It may not be a sore point. I haven't actually looked at the stopper, and in the context of the Apocalypse rule set itself, it may be. Who knows? Who knows? We
Yeah,
may see
depends
stompers on the
now.
battlefield. What do you reckon?
We could indeed. We could indeed. Yes, it's going to be. It's going to be interesting. I don't know where to really begin with this apocalypse stuff. There's so much to talk about. You know, we've sort of briefly a little while ago. I covered some of the sort of price leaks on my channel, and you've covered some of the stuff on your channel, but in very brief overview. But there's I don't know where to begin really. It's pre-orders are going live this Saturday for the game itself, along with all the accessories. The game itself is £65. Am I correct in saying that?
60 pounds, 65
Sixty
pounds, something like
pounds.
that.
There
Yeah, I
we go.
think it's £60.
I think you're right. Actually, £60. We've got movement trays coming along with it. We've got extra cards coming with it. Yeah, it looks great, and it's no longer is it a an update or an add-on to the 40k game. This is much like they've done with Kill Team. This is completely its own self-contained game, completely new rule set, and the rules, from what we can see, are quite different to regular 40k.
Yeah,
Quite drastically different, actually.
definitely. It's
And
you're right. It's a separate game because if you've been with the hobby a while, you know that Apocalypse came out in 4th edition, and there wasn't super like, so for anyone who's new, like, there wasn't super heavy units in normal games of 40k. And back when Apocalypse Force came out, there wasn't even aircraft in standard games of 40k. You know what I mean? So the game has changed quite a lot as to what units are there compared to when Apocalypse Force came out. So that's what the whole point of Apocalypse was. The likes of a Baneblade, before they released the plastic kit, it used to be a Forge World kit, so you'd rarely see them. All these bigger Titan type units, you know what I mean? You wouldn't see them in standard games of 40k. You wouldn't have Lords of War. Yeah, and they, you know, with 4th and 5th edition, there was the original Apocalypse. They brought out the Reloaded in 5th edition. Then they came out with a new Apocalypse book set in 6th edition. And then when 7th edition 40k came around, they pretty much rolled all the Uber Apocalypse stuff into standard 40k. And that's how we've ended up where we are now, where Apocalypse is similar but a separate game set to standard games of 40k. That's why it has its own rules and its own data sheets now. That's why we're seeing things the way they are. Just to put it into context for people who aren't long into the hobby, just to, you know, where Apocalypse has come from, what it was, and what it's changed into. So it's a little bit different to the traditional Apocalypse, but it's going to be interesting,
yeah,
all right.
yeah, I mean, like I say, like traditionally in the past, 40k, like I say, it was just an expansion to the 40k game, wasn't it? It was extra rules and modified rules and sort of adding formations and super heavies and Lords of War and big pie plate size blast markers and things just to upgrade and expand the size of the game. And I think the sort of primary reason they've done this is to sort of make games of Apocalypse more streamlined, able to play them in quicker times, because anyone that's been in the hobby for a long time like us and has played games of 40k in the older editions knows that these games could take a very, very long time.
Oh, a
I
day.
myself was,
Yeah, at least a day, yeah.
I was involved in Apocalypse games that were fantastic fun, but by the end of the day, when we had no choice, but we had to pack up a bit, we'd only played 3 turns.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking when you're that invested in the game and you're having that much of a good time, and it's always feels like a little bit anticlimactic to not really be able to finish the game. You'd sort of finish the game when time ran out and add up the points and see who won, but it didn't feel like you'd really quite scratched that itch properly. So I think from what we can see from these rules and the way it's laid out and stuff is that it's going to enable you to get games finished and potentially even have more than one game in a day. And if the reports are anything to go by, I've heard people saying that played these games in a few hours and stuff and got games completely finished. And it's interesting. It sounds good. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here.
It does sound promising, you're right. I am cautiously optimistic. Obviously, I'll be the same as I was with the Orc Codex, where it's like, I still haven't given me a review of the Orc Codex now that I think about it, but yeah, I'm still mulling over that one. But yeah, there's always like your initial impressions of something when you first get your hands in it. I mean, you get a vibe of, you read over the rules, and after you've owned a few codexes, you've read a few editions of 40k, you've played through different ones, you can sort of get a feel for what direction they're looking to go in with your initial impressions. But me personally, I don't really feel confident in saying to people, this is what it is, this is what it isn't, until you've either played a game or gotten a good few games in under your belt. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I know I won't be playing with the Apocalypse rule set until October myself, with me mates playing an Apocalypse battle. But I will get a game in with it. But then that ties into the issue itself: is Apocalypse going to be a big seller, especially for newer players? Like, not everyone has a large set of miniatures to play Apocalypse with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's going to be like you say, I don't think it's going to really appeal to it will appeal to new players because they'll see these pictures of these massive armies and things and they'll think, oh my God, I want in on that. But the viability of being able to do that early is not really going to happen. But I think for veteran players and stuff, I think it's definitely going to attract a lot of veteran players. And I think it's going to go down well. For everything I've seen of it so far, it looks positive. It looks good. And I think it does need that sort of streamlining and it sort of its own rule set, because 40k as a game, it does scale up. You can play it. I mean, you do have the option with this. Say these rules come out and they turn out they're not for you. You don't like them. You still have the option to just scale up your 40k games and play them. Obviously, the rule book itself comes with its own version of like Apocalypse rules and ideas to play games and things. So you can just say, look, let's play a 10,000 point game of 40k, and we'll use the 40k rules, and you could play a game that will take you all day at least.
Weekend, probably.
Yeah, you can do that. That option's still open to you. So I think this is one of these cases where everyone's a winner, really. Some people will love this new system and they will really get on board with it and really enjoy it. I mean, Kill Team's done, wonders for the sort of skirmish games and things. A lot of people are really enjoying Kill Team, and that's been really popular. And I think this will do the same for large-scale games. People that are really into these large-scale games, if it means they can get these games going quicker and easier and more streamlined, I think that will encourage more people to get involved in Apocalypse. And if you know you can finish the game in a good amount of time, I think it's going to appeal to you more. And because some people as well don't want to play all day or over an entire weekend. They want to just play in a few hours, but still be able to play those big, large games and have all their stuff on the table. And so yeah, it looks cool, but there's a lot of interesting things with this new game. I mean, the box game itself comes with a shit ton of cards, command asset cards.
Yeah, you get like 300 with the standard box set. You're gonna get your tokens for the games, the rule book, and the rule book, the tokens that are gonna be your blast markers and whatever else, and then your 300 command asset cards, which are usable. There are some faction specific ones. There's some generic ones, and then there's also an expansion. Another 100 command asset cards. So when they're launching the game, there'll be 400 command asset cards you can get your hands on. Like I said, there'll be some that are faction specific, some that are generic. How that works from the rules that have been released to us, they do have a website for Apocalypse itself, and how it works is you'll build a deck of 30 command asset cards, and then depending, you draw one a turn, and then I think you draw an additional one for every HQ in your army. And this sort of ties into newer players getting into it as well. The way they've set up the different battalion box sets or spearheads or whichever ones they are, the different box sets that are good value for us that are coming in, especially for the newer players, like the Orc one with the 6 kilocans, the 2 dreads, your big mech with the shock attack one and the mech. It's even if you don't have an Orc army, if you want to play an Apocalypse game with some of your mates, all you need to play the game would be that box set. That's the whole point of these spearheads, battalions, and all these detachments. These box sets. That's the whole point of them. Is just you buy that, and straight away you're able to play Apocalypse just with those box sets. There's some really nice ones. There's some really good value ones. Initially, I was thinking of buying the Astra Militarum one or Imperial Guard, whichever lingo you choose to use, just to loot this stuff. But the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm being honest. It's I don't need any of this stuff. You know what I mean? So I find myself in a strange position where I'm like, I've a stack of miniatures that need to be looted. I have multiples of everything. So as a veteran player myself, I won't be buying any of the new box sets, even though they're great value. So if you're a starting Orc player, just buy the Orc starting box set and then this Orc Spearhead, and that's a great kick-ass army start off for a really good value as well.
Oh, hell yes.
You'll be laughing, man. You'll be laughing. So it's a great opportunity if you're either looking to start a new army or you're new into the hobby. I'd say this would be a great time, but these are going to be limited run, these box sets. So if you have even half an inkling that you want to get one, grab it, pre-order it. These will be gone. I can guarantee you these things will disappear like hotcakes. And that's it. There won't be a second run. This is it. This is what we're being told. Limited availability, limited run, and you can be guaranteed to be gone by pre-orders.
Yeah, these are like you say, these are going to fly off the shelves. And I mean, just the Orc one with the cans and everything is, I think it's got like a value if you buy it all separately of £150 something. They're selling it for £100. If you're buying this for a discount retailer like Element Games or Goblin Gaming or any of the other numbers of ones that do these at 20% discount, you're then getting that for £80. So you're effectively almost getting these, these sets are, if you're buying them wisely, pre-ordering them wisely, you can get effectively this stuff for half price. And GW generally don't do much in the way of sales or discounts to this value very often. And whenever they've done these sort of £100 army box sets, they've always been limited edition. They've always flown off the shelves, but I've not seen them do it to the sort of this scale in the past. Of 10 different factions, 10 different battalion box sets. Some of them look really, really good. Like you say, the Astra Militarum one looks really good, even to Orc players, because it comes with 3 Liman Russes, 1 Chimera, and some sort of artillery guns and things. So great for your looting needs. The Dread Mob in a box is just awesome. I was on the fence about it because, like you say, I already have 6 cans. I already have 3 Def Dreads. Initially I was thinking, well, that's just such good value. I have to get that, even though I don't need them, because that's just such good value. And it's a proper. And when they said, oh, it's limited edition as well, so once they've been gone, that even pushes you even further into the temptation of, oh, I've got to buy it because it's not going to be there. So they really sort of, for a while there, they hooked me in. But I think slowly the more sensible part of my head's taken over, and I'm like, you don't need them. You know, especially as I've got a lot of stuff to paint. I really don't need to be buying and building more stuff.
You don't need to be added to this stack of unpainted miniatures. That's exactly that
I
train
really
of
don't.
thought you went through there is exactly the same as mine. It's like, oh, it's such great value, I can't not buy it. And then you turn around and you look at all of those unpainted miniatures, and you're like, well, yeah.
Perhaps I should leave it. See, they kind of shot themselves in the foot, really, by revealing that sort of too soon. Well, I know the prices were leaked, but I think if they just revealed it and said, these are out in the shops now, limited offer, they're going to be gone very soon, so snap them up now, I think a lot of people would have just gone, right, buy, I'll have 2, and then regretted it later down the line. But
It just depends. It just depends. Like I said, these are primarily aimed towards newer players, getting them to play Apocalypse, and then you'll have veteran players buying them up as well. Like, you know,
to expand and increase, their armies. And if you want to get a lot of cans and Def Dreads and things in your army, there is no better way than this to get them, because you are getting a dread mob in a box. You're saving an absolute fortune. They're fantastic kits. The cans and the Def Dreads are some of my favourite kits in the faction. Come with loads of spares and bits, and very easy to convert. And the can and Def Dread parts, a lot of them are very interchangeable as well. Very easy conversions and kit bashes you can do there. It's a great kit, and I think it was great advice from you there as well, saying, if you're starting out and you want to get, like, you got a Orc Start Collecting set and this set and combine them, you really have got a cracking little army there.
It'd be a good force, because what you get in the start set, you get like five knobs, your boys, you get a dread, and you get a pain boy, and then with the spearhead set, you'll get 2 extra dreads. You'll get your 6 cans, a big mech with a shock attack gun, and a mech. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've pretty much got everything there. I think the only thing you're really lacking is a sort of fast attack option. But you've got your HQ, you've got your elite, you've got your buffing unit and your pain boy, you've got your mechs and stuff. Got a lot of heavy support there. You've got some boys, which are the sort of bread and butter, and you've got your elite Nobz unit. You got a cracking little set there, and you're going to get out of those what comes in those sets as well. You can have really good bits box left over once everything's built as well. So, yeah, really, I think it's a really good time to start collecting orcs there, definitely. But as well as these battalion sets, you've got some other accessories and things going on. We've got dice, because this game uses D12s as well as the good old D6s, something that traditionally we don't see in a lot of Games Workshop games, certainly not 40k anyway. But yeah, we're getting D12s. We get them in the initial box itself, and there is also a further set you can buy of Apocalypse dice, which comes with the D6s and D12s. And the ones that you buy in the extra set, I think, look a little bit better. They've got sort of an explosion, sort of a blast logo, haven't they, where the numbers are.
Yeah,
cool.
they do. They have
cool. They're nice and
have a design on them,
colourful, but they, as well as looking cool, they're also functional, which is not something you can say about a lot of Games Workshop dice that they produce.
It's like squig dice.
Those bouncy squig dice. Or there's a lot of dice that Games Workshop do for faction specific, which have awesome little symbols on and things, but quite hard to read in game. Is that a 6 or is that a 1?
I think they've learned their lessons with that there, where it's only one of the symbols is it's got this special little icon on it. Whereas even if you look at kill team dice and stuff like that, it'll be like the 1 and the 6 have a symbol on them. So it can be confusing for your opponents, even if you know, like, it can be confusing for your opponent going, is that have you succeeded, haven't you? You know what I mean? Like, the whole point of dice is, at a glance, you should be able to tell what the result is.
Yes, definitely, and especially in a game of Apocalypse where you are going to be playing on 8-foot tables, 10-foot, 12-foot. God knows, these tables can be stretched from one end of the hall to the other, depending on the size of the game you're playing. So, the last thing you want to be doing is not being able to lean over the board and see what the players roll in. And so the dice, they look very cool, and this D12 mechanic looks very interesting because it's from what I gather, it's rolling to hit will be still done on a D6, but the rolling of damage and things and the wounding and things will be done with D12s. And the D12s, they will play quite an important role. Just scanning over some of the data sheets and stuff, a lot of units have things like a save of 8+, 10+, and things. And the way the weapons and everything works in the game now is very different. We've got stat lines for units are very different. In one of the articles, earlier articles, they showed a comparison between like a Space Marine stats for 40k and the stats for Apocalypse, and there's some very interesting rules there. There's a lot less stats, there's things that have been cut out of it, and we now have 2 different sort of weapon strength / damage profiles, where a weapon will have 2 stats. It will have its strength against tanks and strength against personnel.
Yeah.
And so you've got your anti-infantry firepower and your anti-tank firepower. And so, for example, something like a bolt gun will have very good strength against personnel, but against tanks, less so. And the same way with things like rocket launchers and things will obviously be very good against tanks and less so against infantry. So, that's quite an interesting mechanic that they've brought into the game. And that's going to be interesting. They've sort of talked in the articles about how things like even lighter vehicles, even when they did the faction focus orcs, and they sort of focused on the killer cans, saying how they're going to be a bit more resilient in games of Apocalypse because they have less to worry about with small arms fire. Small arms fire is going to be very unlikely to damage vehicles and things, even lighter ones. So it's interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see if these rules eventually, and a lot of this other stuff, eventually sort of creeps its way into possibly 9th edition 40k. Because they traditionally do use these sort of expanded games and spin-off games and things as almost like a test bed for rules, almost like beta rules, I'm not saying that this is literally a beta, but I wouldn't be surprised if certain elements of this, if successful and become popular, and perhaps do bleed their way into 40k in the future.
Well, this is it. I think up to a certain degree, you're right. It's like if we look at Kill Team, the way it's like alternate activations and stuff like that, and then I'm just scrolling through the data cards for the orcs that have been released, I think today, the day of our recording, and it's such a looking at the stats and stuff. But even Apocalypse is slightly different in that it's not I go you go in the traditional 40k sense, where it's someone goes first and then they're at a massive advantage to the other player, which I think has been outdated for quite some time now at this stage. Whereas Apocalypse tends to get over that. What happens is you activate different detachments. So it'll be a case of, if me and you were playing Stevo, I'd activate a spearhead detachment, I'd move, shoot, do me assaults and whatever, and any damage that's put down, you'll put down blast markers, and then you'll activate a spearhead detachment, and vice versa. We'll go back and forth until the turns are over, and at the end of the turn, all the damage is applied. So you won't just get alpha striked anymore. You know what I mean? You come along with your big shiny stomper that you took a year and a day to paint up, and it just gets blown off the table first turn. That happens quite a lot in 40k games.
Yes, it
unsurprisingly,
does.
and Apocalypse games. You know what I mean? That was when I wanted some feedback off of some of the newer players to my to the Apocalypse games that we run. That was one of the things that they said. It's like, oh, you know what I mean? There's a big disadvantage to going
Yeah,
second.
and
So
I think, and it's great that they've brought that element into Apocalypse, because I think that is that issue that you get in games of 40k when the other player gets first turn and they've immediately got an advantage because they've destroyed several things that, you know, you've literally paid the points for nothing. They've just been there, destroyed, and haven't even got to move or shoot or do anything. That problem is just massively magnified in Apocalypse because of you've got things like Warhound Titans, Warlord Titans blasting like huge, ridiculous amounts of firepower that are leveling
buckets of
tanks and
miniatures
things.
coming off. You're not taking
Yeah,
handfuls. You're taking buckets full of miniatures off.
yeah,
It's
literally, and you know,
madness.
an entire army's worth of miniatures destroyed before they've even got a chance to move. So yeah, that's a really interesting mechanic, I think, and it's gonna, I think, again, that's gonna make Games of Apocalypse a lot more fun, because even if something does get destroyed first turn, it's going to have had that first turn of being able to move, shoot, potentially assault, you know, do something. It's going to have done something, or had at least had the chance to do something. So it's not completely wasted. And yeah, no, it's represents the way that both armies are, because obviously, you know, we're playing an abstract sort of version of a battlefield. You know, two armies are charging at each other simultaneously. They're shooting at each other simultaneously. So I think that's a great way to represent that. Both these armies are effectively charging at each other at the same time. All the weapons are firing back and forward. You know, in a battle, you know, you don't wait for the enemy to fire at you and then go, right, now, right, load up, it's our turn to fire back. So yeah, that does seem very cool. And obviously that's why we've got the tokens, because the tokens, being able to remember all that damage and things, is, you know, you're not going to be able to do that on pen and paper. There's just going to be far too much. So these blast markers are going to go down to represent how much damage and things is applied. And yeah, they seem quite interesting. So you sort of roll to wound and things, and if you do, you lay down like a blast marker, and then if you do it again with another unit, that blast marker is then changed to a large blast marker, which will up it from a D6 save to a D12 save, or the other
Or
way
the
round.
damage, yeah, it's the amount of
Yeah, I'm
damage.
getting it. Effectively, the larger the blast marker, the less likely you are going to be able to save it. And I think that's how it works from what I was reading. If you've got like a small blast marker,
I think
you
it's
roll
like
like a
D6
D12.
damage or something, and
I
then
think,
the large
yeah, and
ones, yeah, you
I
upgrade them
think it also
as they
affects
stack.
your saves as well. You can roll D12 saves. So obviously rolling a D12 to make like a 6+ save gives you a good chance. If you're rolling a D6, you've got very little chance. And then with a lot of units that have an 8+ save or a 10+ save, obviously if the blast marker is increased and you're having to do that on a 6+, then you're not rolling that dice because you can't make that save. So yeah, it affects all that sort of stuff. So it's very clever the way they've a very simple mechanic that has added quite a lot of depth to, you know, the damage and stuff that's going around. And yeah, it's interesting, especially when you compare it to 40k, how they've sort of, you know, when 8th edition came out, it was very controversial to a lot of people, and some people like it, some people hate it, where any weapon can damage any unit in the game, which previously was not possible. I remember playing old games of 5th edition, and people hated it when my Deceiver in my Necron army was on the table because he was toughness 8 and he'd get in combat with units of strength 4, and they just couldn't hurt him because toughness was double their strength, and they couldn't roll anything to wound him, so it was literally impossible to wound. So and then people were on the other end of the fence saying that things like, nowadays, grots can, you know, a grot blaster could take down a titan and stuff, and you know, the reality of it was very different. It's, yes, you do stand a very small chance of being able to shave a wound off here and there, but that's about it, and even then it's still very unlikely. But yeah, I think these things they're bringing into Apocalypse seem even better, I think, and even more realistic and interesting.
Well,
I was.
it just depends. Like, I've started to look into BattleTech, so Games Workshop aren't really force people to do this type of thing. This is pretty much, if you've played BattleTech or you don't know what BattleTech is, you're playing a skirmish combat game with giant robots pretty much. And the whole thing with that game is it's very granular. The standard, I think I call it like classic BattleTech. It's very granular, but they do exactly the same thing that Games Workshop are doing here, or a version of the game called the Alpha Strike, for when you want to play bigger games. And it's literally, you get an abbreviated card with streamlined stats, and you're able to play the game a lot quicker. So Games Workshop definitely aren't the forced to do this sort of thing, but they're catching on. I think they should have been doing something like this like 10, 15 years ago, but sure, better late than never. As we're scrolling through the data cards, you will see that in the standard orc set, we have the data cards for the cart, the wagon, the battle fortress. These are all in the standard orc ones. Because there are no points. It's all like power points. You know what I mean? There's no like match play points, so it's good to see that they've put the looted wagon.
Oh, yes. I was waiting until we got to this bit, because this is very pleasing news. When we did the first attempt of recording this podcast, we were, before these data sheets were leaked, we were speaking in that failed attempt at a podcast about how good it would be that things like looted wagons and things made a return in Apocalypse. And it would go some way, not all the way, because we still want them in match play 40k. We're not
want them in the codex. That's where we want them.
Yes, damn straight. We want them in the codex with points, not with some shitty open base stamp on the data sheet. But this goes some way to making up for it. It's a compromise, let's put it that way. So you can start dusting off those looted wagons again. You know, those conversion projects that perhaps you've scrapped. You thought, well, what's the point if I can't bloody play it in the way I want to play it? Look, now, if you're going to get into Apocalypse and you're going to be playing games of Apocalypse, then here's the way to get your creativity going again and start creating some, get them Liman Russes, get them Rhinos, you know, get whatever you like and start making your own carts and looted wagons and battle fortresses. And this is perfect, because this will tie in nicely when you do your next big vehicle build competition, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. You'll have rules superb for some of the vehicles that you can be inspired to use. But yeah, I wouldn't restrict people. I'd let people build what they want. You know what I mean? I'm all for homebrew rules or doing specific rules for your own events. Like some of the guys, when we do the Apocalypse game, you know, they make rules for Gargants because they've built Gargants, and the Games Workshop haven't given us rules to play with orc Gargants in Apocalypse or 40k. So you know what I mean? Some of the guys have to make up rules, and because they're big orcs against orcs Apocalypse battles, it's not a problem. You know what I mean? As long as everyone's happy. Just a bit of a laugh, really.
Yes, and I think that's, you know, again, why they've probably included these things and PowerPoints and stuff. So this isn't like match play. And I think match play, I love match play for 40k, and that's what I've always played, because of old school. That's the only way we could really play before. Well, it wasn't. We could always play open play if we wanted to, but done that. But yeah, match play is probably, it's not really suited for Apocalypse, because you're playing such massive scale points that if you're playing a 10,000 point game and you're adding up the points of, it's, big choppers are, this many points, and it's this many points to add a rocket launcher in my unit. You don't want to be worrying about that. So I think the way they've done it, PowerPoints was the right system to use, because Apocalypse games, they're not, they can be competitive, but they're not designed for purely, these aren't, Apocalypse games aren't designed for tournament play. They're designed as one-off fun get-together games, or as just a game where an excuse to throw down all your collections, or ally with fellow players, or to end a good campaign on with a big Apocalypse game.
Yeah, exactly. So they're special events. You're right there. Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. It's like when Apocalypse game is played and it's a big one, it's like it's something to behold. It's like a celebration of the hobby on one massive table. You know what I mean? I know standard games of 40k are, but it really sort of brings out the best in the hobby, because it
You,
has
you,
that sort
you,
of that vibe to it, sort of like a little mini festival in and of its own thing. You know
yes.
what I mean?
You know you're playing an apocalypse game at the beginning because the first thing everyone does once the armies are set up is everyone gets out their phones and starts taking
Yeah,
pictures.
start taking. They
Because
have a look. Oh, what's that?
yeah, no
Oh,
one,
that's kill.
you generally people might take the odd picture here and there for a 40k game or something, but when you're playing Warriors, everyone wants to get photos of that to remember that by and see the armies laid up. And it is a sight to behold. Um, and it's awesome. And well, I know you yourself you do these apocalypse games quite regular, don't you? You get these big get-togethers.
Yeah, we try do them twice a year, so every 6 months we'll go up to Warhammer World with some mates, and we'll play. Yeah, just a big ass game where it's orcs versus orcs, and I think the last time it was something like 16,000 points aside or something like that. It's just like
Nice,
green as far
tasty.
as it's just crazy, man. It is, but it's fun, and it has that aspect of it as well, especially with orc players. But with any army really, any faction, when you have that many players playing a game and you have that many armies down on the table, you're gonna see people's different takes on things. You know what I mean? Even it's like, oh, I might have a Blood Axe army, and two other players might also be Blood Axe players, but their army composition will be different. The way they paint their stuff could be different. Their conversions will be different. So it's a spectacle. You know what I mean? And like I
Yeah.
said, some of the guys have gargants and stuff like that. So you're seeing stuff in apocalypse games that you wouldn't see in normal games. Maybe there's like some units, like we're looking at the little wagons and the carts and stuff. Maybe there's units like that aren't really sort of competitive, and maybe they wouldn't be seen in the normal meta. But in apocalypse games, the ones I play in anyway, for me personally, you tend to see stuff that you generally don't see on the board. You know what I mean? You get to see a bit of everything because
Yeah,
there's so
it's just
much.
it's just throw everything in, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
get your entire collection, put it on the table, and let's just have some fun blowing the
yeah,
shit out of each
exactly.
other.
That'd be gas, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, you're having the thought process with your mate. It's like, you have a whole chapter of Space Marines. I wonder if my whole army of orcs could take them on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You could be talking smack to each other for years, and then eventually you'll actually organize the game and do it. But that's the thing about Apocalypse. They don't happen all that often because they're big. You need to organize players, which is like herding cats. Sweet Jesus! You have to organize players, and you have to organize it. So there's a bit of organization. So you sort of need, like, in general, you need a couple of people or one person or someone who just sort of organizes everything, gets everything together, and sort of pushes you all in the one direction. So it's like, all right, lads, we're gonna have who wants to play, and it'll be like 12 people who say they want to play. It's like, all right, we have so many players. We'll play this many points. I'll make up a scenario for us. Or you could roll in the new Apocalypse rulebook. You'll be given charts you can roll on and whatever else. Or you could just make a pre-generated one yourself, and then show up in the day and have a laugh. You know what I mean? That's what it is. Like I said, they're like mini festivals, celebrations of the hobby, in and of themselves, and a good excuse to get together, roll some dice with some mates, and have a laugh and watch stuff explode spectacularly. So, like, this is why I'm sort of probably more excited about this than people who haven't really had a chance or don't play big games on the regular, because it should help organizing games and make it a lot quicker. The games, like you said, I've had that problem as well in the past in previous editions, where you'll start an Apocalypse game and you won't get the chance to finish it, and you've been playing it all day, like, and you do be
yeah,
heartbroken when you get to 2 and 3 and 4. And a lot of players, like, there were rules in previous Apocalypse editions for time limits on turns and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? Some folk feel, you do feel a bit robbed of stuff. You know what I mean? You don't want to be rushing and rushing. But
no, because that's when you start making mistakes and things, isn't it? And although it's not competitive, if you realise that, oh, I didn't get to use that tank, or I didn't get to do that, or
There's
yeah,
just
that
so
sort of
much.
spoils the
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Stuff gets forgotten about. There's so much going on. I think Apocalypse is the only time I've had units that have been like units of boys that have literally not been shot at all game because, quite frankly, there's so much to shoot at. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
just like target saturation across the board.
shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's yeah, like you say. I mean, it's this is obviously very exciting for you because you do these big games regular, and I've done them in the past and had great fun. But I'm at a period, in my life now with work and commitments and stuff now, and a lot of the people I used to play with no longer live local, and that. So for me, just getting a regular game of 40k in can be a real struggle at times. Trying to match up with people and get times where you're both free and both able to do it. And yeah, and then obviously with Apocalypse as well, it's a case of finding someone where you've got the space. If
Yeah.
you've got someone who's got a large living room with a huge table and can take up that space for the day, or you play at a gaming club that has this space and the time to be able to do it,
Or community
then
halls. I
yeah,
think it's yeah. I think
there's
there's
a
a lot
lot
of
of
that.
restrictions that come into it and stuff. So for me, the Apocalypse game itself, I'm not going to be getting, at least not initially, not unless sort of lifestyle, circumstances change where I do start getting the opportunity to play it more, because yeah, I'd always like to play it more. But I think the releases and stuff is still very interesting to observe, and these big battalion sets coming out. I think even for people that aren't going to be playing Apocalypse, these are fantastic starter sets. There's fantastic value, and yeah, it's just going to be interesting to keep an eye on. And I'm very intrigued to see your review of it when you do get your
Oh,
hands on it,
definitely.
and
Yeah, yeah. Well,
when it
I'm
rolls
definitely
round
pre-ordering
to
it. Definitely. I'll be
yeah,
doing a review and showing people. This is the beauty of it, though. Even you're saying that, you don't have any interest in it, because you don't get any games in. But this is the thing. The core box set isn't a limited run. You know what I mean?
no,
Um, it's just the
it's not going
spearheads and
anywhere.
stuff. So you don't have to be in a hurry to go out and buy it, folks. Do you know what I mean? Especially if it's a rule set that you're not gonna get to use. Like nobody wants to be buying a rule set and then it's sitting on your shelf for a year or two before you get to use it. So I don't think people will be running out the door. I could be totally wrong about this, but like I said, I don't think there will be as much of a draw for Apocalypse, just the core set, to normal players of 40k and new players as there would
Well,
be
it's not
for
cheap, is it,
veterans.
either?
It's I think it's 60 quid for the core box set itself, but that's
And
off a GW, and then going to discount retailers. I'd probably expect to get it for like 45 or 50, depending on whoever. Do you know what I mean? In and around that ballpark figure. That's pound
yeah,
sterling.
and I mean, you're getting a boxed game there, but not unlike other games. You're not getting any miniatures in this. You're just getting rules, dice, cards, a lot of cards, mind you, tokens and things, and you're getting the ability to play a new game with your existing miniatures and stuff. But so it is pricey. It is a big investment, and I think it is. If you are on the fence about it, I think it's worth waiting to see those reviews from people that have played it. I'm not talking about an unboxing review, because there'll be lots of those. Talking about actually people that have actually tried this rule set, listen to these people, see the reviews. So I know you yourself, once it goes around to October and you've played a game with it and you've done it, obviously it's going to be very interesting to hear your views on it from someone that has been doing these for many years now and playing
Yeah.
Apocalypse in its current form, to see your take on how this compares, and whether this is the way forward, and this has made your life so much easier and it's made the game so much more fun and brought the fun back into the game, or whether you say, for me, it's oversimplified it, and I'm going to in future we're going to continue playing with the 40k rule set because we prefer that. So it's going to be interesting to see where you go on that, and the rest of the guys that you play with, what their feelings are on it. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to. I'll be looking forward to your review come October, once you've got your grubby mitts on it and had a 16,000 point orc carnage
Mega
game, which
battle
just
of
sounds so
madness
much fun.
with everything. Oh, there'll be a battle report and pictures and whatever else. I'll do all of that. get it all sorted out. There are also, for those of you who are veteran players and interested, the Forge World Xenos Index units as well. These are the data cards I'm scrolling through now. You'd be interested to know that we're even still getting data cards for the likes of the attack fighter, the fighter bomber, units that are no longer in production. Death Roller Battle Fortress, which is different to the standard Battle Fortress. This
Yep.
is a different one.
You've got your Scrigoff and your
Kill Crusher, but it's
Gargantuan
interesting. Yeah,
Scrigoff and
interesting that they're still giving us the stuff for units that aren't even produced by Forge World anymore. So I think it's really aimed at the OG players who have that massive collection and want to use everything, because they're still giving us data cards, custom
I think
stomper
we
rules.
give credit where it's due there, actually, because GW gets a lot of stick from us, ourselves included.
Well, you know,
We're sometimes, on certain decisions that GW make, we're leading the fucking charge with the picket line. We are there, shouting off on our channels about this is ridiculous. We've spoken about various things, and so yeah, no, hats off to them on this. It's good, and we'll criticise them when they do something wrong. Believe me, we're not afraid to do that, any of us. But this is good. This is a good move by GW. Well done, GW, for actually doing the right thing here. Because these data sheets are downloadable. They're free.
Downloadable and free, yeah.
They're not making any money out of these old miniatures, like you say, that are no longer in production, which usually would be a red flag to GW. And they're like, well, we're not letting them do that. If we're not making any money out of it, they can't have it. But no, fair play to them. They've got rules in here for, all this stuff that, like I say, is out of production, things that people are going to be kit bashing and converting themselves. You're good on your GW. Well done. More of that, please. Let's see that bleed down into the rest of your ranges and stuff as well. But yeah, Apocalypse is the perfect place to do that. And I think if they had restricted Apocalypse in that fashion, people wouldn't have stood for that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's a step in the right direction, and I'd like to see more of this attitude invested into the standard 40k. You know what I mean?
It feels a bit old school GW, doesn't it? It feels a little bit old school GW, which I think it, again, goes a great way to appealing to these OG players. It really does. I've got these data sheets on my screen in front of me, and all I can keep staring at is this data sheet for the wagon. That's all I'm looking at. I'm just looking at the rules for it now and the weapon options it has, and I could create that. So yeah, it's I'm just gonna go over this. So the wagon is. A wagon is a unit that contains one model. It is equipped with a big shooter, armoured hull. And then you've got options in there, so you can equip it with a kill cannon, a lobber, a zap gun. Instead of one big shooter, you can replace it with a scorcher or a zap gun. This unit can also be equipped with up to 2 of the following: big shooter, scorcher, rocket launcher. It can also be equipped with a stick bomb launcher. So you've got it's a good few options there for different weapon varieties and things. So it's brilliant. It looks absolutely great. You've got the carts in there as well, so you've got your old school buggies and scorchers and that on there, which are now called carts, which just makes me think of Mario Kart.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see some conversions that are just little Mario Karts, man.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
It'd be hilarious.
Orcs tossing banana peels behind them and stuff.
Or blue shells, blue shell in his hand. Yeah. Oh, blue shell squig. There you go. Yeah, there's a great idea.
And the Battle Fortress, so way to get the Bane Blade has had a bit of a soft relaunch in the fact that it's just got a new box. Woohoo! But yeah, you've got the Bane Blades there, which is a cool set. Comes with a lot of options in that set. You can make up to, I think, 8 different variants of the Bane Blade out of that one set, if I'm correct. Or something like
crazy
that anyway.
like that. But that's what the if you're used to customizing miniatures and you're looking at the Battle Fortress, our Battle Fortress in the standard orc datasheet, that's what that pretty much is a Skull Hammer Battle Fortress.
Yes,
that's pretty much what that is.
And you've got a lot of different weapon options there. In the datasheet for that lists a whole load of different weapons and a whole load of different options for kitting this out in a variety of different ways, and it's fantastic. So it opens up Apocalypse for just being really, really good bloody fun. Getting loads of miniatures on the table, being able to convert and kit bash things and create crazy designs and loot as many tanks as you like, and yeah, great stuff for orcs. As usual on this, we're purely
biased, I'd say.
we're very biased. Yeah, very, very.
Purely biased.
If you play one of the lesser factions, then good luck.
Lesser.
I haven't even. They had the option to download all the data sheets. I thought, I don't bother.
Yeah, you know what? I did exactly the same thing. I was like, I could download all of them, or I could just download the Orc one and like the Orc Forge one. That'll do me. You know what I mean?
That'll do. I mean, typically in the past, I've played because I used to collect multiple factions. So I had a Necron army back in the day, which was my main faction. And then I had a Black Legion army, I had an Orc army, and I had a Nid force as well. So I had 4 different factions. And for me, back then, playing Apocalypse was an excuse to just basically go. And a lot of my friends had multiple armies as well. So a good buddy that I used to play with, he had Elder and Tau. You know, God, that was a nasty combination.
Tau there.
Yeah, it was a case of we essentially get a few of us together, and we would essentially say, right, we'll do good versus evil. If you know, there is no good and evil as such. You know, there's a lot of grey. But so we effectively did Marines, Elder, Tau versus Chaos, Nids, Necrons, Orcs. You know, and it was great fun. It was great fun, and you know, a lot of people, if they had sort of a good my brother-in-law, he had an Elder and Dark Elder, so he would give me his Dark Elder and say, there you go, you have the Dark Elder, I'll play with my Elder and be on the good side. And it was great fun just to throw everything on the table and have allies and forces that usually wouldn't ally with each other, but just thinking, to hell with it, we just throw everything on the table. Good versus evil, Lord of the Rings styly, epic final battle. It was brilliant fun, absolutely brilliant fun, and it's great for people like that as well. Even if you don't have a singular huge faction, if you do collect multiple factions, then this is a great way just to say, look, I'm just going to ally everything and throw everything on. So, yeah.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6 mates just band together. I think this is what's good about Apocalypse. It's a fun day. You'll have a good laugh with your mates, and you'll have some good memories. Because, you know, even the way you're talking about the big games that you've played, and the way I'm talking about the big games that I've played, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter if you win or lose, to be honest with you.
No.
It's a laugh. Yeah. And you probably can't remember.
I couldn't tell you. I every Apocalypse game I played, I have memories of it. I couldn't say that same about 40k. I've probably played a lot more games of 40k. I definitely have. But I have really, really fond memories of every Apocalypse game I've ever played. But what I cannot tell you about any of them is who won. I honestly can't tell you. I have no idea whether I won or lost them. I think a lot of the time because we didn't get to finish them, but damn, they were good fun. You know, just some great moments, absolutely great moments. It was just using some of the special formations and some of the special things that you didn't get to do in regular 40k. Taking one of those blast markers that was the size of a fucking dog's frisbee or a
dinner plate, yeah.
Laying that down, you know. 2 of you, having to twos up to lift this bloody over the table.
Get the hoist out from the ceiling. Come on now, lads, lift the old blast marker there. Come on, we'll see where this lands.
Counting all the Orc boys under that template, and just losing count, 3 or 4 times.
Well, I've had fun with them. There was more than that sometimes. More than that, there was one game I missed. I wasn't able to attend. So I still got to interact though. So what we did is one of the other guys that was organising it, I'd get him to take a picture of the battlefield, and he'd send the image to me on Facebook, and then I'd put a target on a unit, or I'd put a target, and then it would deviate like D6 feet or whatever. And the whole point was I wasn't able to put my forces onto the battlefield, but I was supposed to be in a kill cruiser in space, bombarding the battlefield from down. So, you can play in Apocalypse games. You don't even have to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the rules kind of go. You can really get creative with it, can't you, and expand on it. And you can. I think, like we were saying earlier, Apocalypse is a fantastic way to finish a campaign. You can play a series of linked games and
Oh yeah,
smaller
definitely.
battles. You could combine. You could effectively run a campaign that has elements of 40k, Kill Team, Apocalypse. You can even bring in your Battlefleet Gothic into it. You can play a whole variation of different games, and the outcome of each battle, you can set these different things yourself. Whoever wins this will get this in the Apocalypse game. Perhaps if you get this, you get these extra command assets in the game. You can just get lots of little things and little bonuses that build up, and then finally leads to this big epic battle where all these little battles have been building up to, and gives it a really cinematic feel and a final finish to your campaign, and just ends it on a high. And I think everyone involved will just have such fond memories of it and be desperate to take part in the next one, because
You'd be
yeah
you'd be so invested. That's exactly, that's the type of thing you want to be. If you've been playing in a campaign for so long, and you'd be building towards this big apocalypse battle, you know what I mean? You're gonna be hyped as hell to see. It's gonna be like, oh yeah, we got that bonus because my commandos went in and they destroyed that fuel dump that time. Remember, that's why we get this
yeah
like bonus 1 inch movement to our speed freaks, or something. You know, little tidbits, little Brucey bonuses. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, you're going to be buzzing your zogging tits off, aren't you? Yeah, it's so yeah. But there we go. I mean, guys, Apocalypse is up for pre-order this Saturday,
29th, yeah.
along with all the battalion box sets, detachment box sets. Sorry, the accessories of the dice, the cards, and everything, etc. And it's Warhammer Day on the 29th as well. I know that a lot of the Games Workshop stores are going to be running special events, and I think they usually have sort of, I don't know, special thing, limited time things that you can buy. And they're going to be, doing all sorts of things. I know as well they've also got tickets on sale, haven't they, for the largest
Apocalypse
game
game, yeah.
ever in history,
In
at least on
August,
record
I think,
anyway.
isn't it?
Yes,
Warhammer World.
tickets for that are going on sale very shortly, or either on sale now. It's £10 a ticket to get one of the tickets and go and take part and be part of history, and be in the history books of Games Workshop at taking part in the biggest battle they've ever done, which sounds very cool. Those ticket prices are cheap as well. I'm sure that'll be crazy and chaotic.
I'm sure it'll be a
Fun as
laugh.
hell. And
Yeah, sure
yeah,
it'll be a
and
laugh.
you'll have some great photo opportunities there. And my God, that'll be interesting to see the pictures that come out of that. Yeah, damn sure. That'll be great. But yeah, guys, please share in the comments below your thoughts on Apocalypse, whether you're going to be buying it, whether you're interested in it, whether you're going to be buying any of these detachment sets and what you think about them. And yes, just share your thoughts below, guys. Get involved in the conversation. We always try and reply to all our comments on our videos, and be subscribed to not just this channel, but also be subscribed to Skarner's channel, because for those of you that don't know, this podcast that we do alternates. So one episode will be on my channel, the next one will be on Skarner's channel. So if you don't want to miss the next episode, please make sure you're subscribed to Skarner.
It does help, apparently. Also, it might become a bit more regular now, you know what I mean? Since someone else has gotten himself a computer, we might be able to...
Yes, it might
more than
well
once
do.
every 2 months, or whatever our bleeding schedule's like at this stage, you know what I mean?
Guys, we would love to be really regular, so we would love to be able to tell you, first of every month, new episode, podcast episode will be out, and hopefully at some point we will get to that stage. Currently, with our works and sort of busy schedules and things, and for my part, lack of technical equipment, it's been difficult to try and get these things regular as we would like, but we are going to work on it. We are constantly working to improve and become more regular and get this content out to you, and do good content that we're proud of, and yeah, we're working on it, and we're constantly improving and evolving, and it's slow progress, especially for someone like myself on a budget. But we are getting there, and yeah, I think you will stay tuned to both our channels. You'll see improvements to this show and our channels in general. But yeah, we'll keep bringing this stuff out to you, and yeah, hopefully more regular, because it's been a while since the last one, hasn't it, buddy?
Oh, it's yeah.
It
I
has been
had
a while.
calculated it the last time we recorded this, but I don't want to jinx it again. I'll just be like, yeah, all right, it's been a while, and
Yeah, just in case this one
this
freezes up
this
and
one goes
all
bleeding
day.
tits up. I'm like,
Oh,
nah, yeah, it's been a while.
Never want to repeat that again.
No.
But yeah, guys. Also, oh, I was meant to plug this at the beginning, but I completely forgot. I have hit now 2,000 subscribers.
Hey.
I've actually gone a bit beyond that, because I was, on the day I hit 2K subscribers, going to launch my competition and make a video on the day, with a competition ready for all you subscribers to enter and win some amazing prizes. But on the day itself, I got a message from another sponsor of the competition who said, don't do anything yet, I'm posting you out something to add to the prize pool. So I thought, right, oh, brilliant. So I'm holding off. It arrived. I've opened it. It looks incredible. I'm so jealous already of whoever's going to win this competition. But guys, let me tell you, my next video is going to be the 2K subscriber giveaway video, and you are not going to want to miss it. Trust me.
Sweet.
I have an amazing prize pool to give away. Yes, I've been sponsored by some very cool companies who have very kindly donated some stuff. I'm also throwing some stuff in myself. So if you like orcs and you want some cool free loot, you're gonna want to watch that video. You're gonna be wanting to share that, and get some people subscribing, get everyone in there, because I am jealous. It's such a tease, man. Without giving anything away, I've got this stuff sitting there. I'm
Staring at you. It's like, well,
I can see it all there, and some of it's been here for months, and I've just been looking at it. Just oh my god, I don't want to give this away. I want this for myself, but no, it's all being given away to one lucky winner, and yeah, boy, they're going to be over the moon. They really are. But yeah, all will be revealed on my next video, guys. So I'll be running a competition, and all of you guys can enter. It's not going to be anything too fancy. It's not going to take much work from your part. It's going to be a simple sort of like, share, comment, subscribe sort of thing. So it's not going to take anything, effort on your part. It's just a little way for me to say thank you to you guys for getting me to where I am now, and at least really making one person's day. So very exciting, actually, very, very exciting. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done for this podcast for now, everybody.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much talked about all we can talk about. The legs have been talked off the chair substantially at this stage. So yeah, in summary, we're looking forward to Apocalypse. Stevo's doing a giveaway, and it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. We're cautiously optimistic, would we say, of the new rules to come out. And
yes, cautiously optimistic. And
be getting our hands. Well, I'll be getting my hands on them anyway, and then I'll give you my initial thoughts, and then when I get to play it, I'll give you a full review. So
we shall look forward to it, buddy.
Be a good crack. So that's goodbye from Scarnier for this episode, if it survives.
It will survive. It will survive. Believe. And this is 6+ Stevo signing out.